would you say that Russia was fighting with a smaller force this whole time? The amount of troops?
Up to a couple months ago, were they fighting with a smaller force?
Till they mobilized and they stabilized the line. Would you say they've been fighting with less troops?
Honestly, right? I don't know. I don't know how big the Ukrainian military was. And actually, I have a question for you guys, because you guys know a lot more about this than me.
China was around 700,000 to 1 million. That's what everybody claimed.
Ukraine had up to 1 million troops?
That's the highest number I heard.
I believe everyone agreed it was about 700,000 is what they started the war with.
And then how John just ran away from the question, like, I'm not going to answer this question.
No, I mean, I don't know, so I don't want to just make something up.
The point I'm going to make is, if you add up everybody together on the Russian side, let's say 300,000. So they were pushing them back all the way till summer, till the trained troops and the new NATO equipment came in, correct? So you could say this was a type of a game changer. So the game was changed. Then Russia went on the defensive, and they had to change the game. So what did they do? They mobilized. Now we have 300,000 plus troops training, mobilized, plus some that entered the line. They stabilized the line, and they seem to be pushing back a little bit now. So when you ask, why is Russia confident? Because Russia can keep doing this. They can keep escalating. They can keep countering in any way.
See, that's my thing. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Is just, barring some weird, unforeseen event, I just think most people look at it like, in the long run, there's no way Russia's going to lose, because they just aren't going to allow themselves to lose. They'll do whatever they got to do to win, probably up to and short of nuclear weapons, which I don't think either side wants that to go. And I don't think realistically right now there's a scenario where that would happen unless NATO got really involved. But that's just what I think about that. I just think that.
Would you guys agree that Putin calling it an SMO, a special military operation, going in with 190,000 Russian troops, we're not talking about the rest of the groups, that was a small force compared to what Ukraine had. So he had not a war that he was thinking about. He was thinking about something else. We can guess whatever that was, and you could even argue that it failed. But the war hasn't really started up till now. People are dying. But what's about to come now, when you see all this equipment and all these troops surrounding the country, waiting for an offensive, whatever they're going to do with them, you got to admit that this is going to be pretty rough for Ukraine, no matter which way you slice this.
Yeah,
let me respond to the first part. So you said Ukraine had 700,000 troops, Russia had 190,000 or something, so you didn't think of it as the war actually starting. I would disagree with that, just because concentration of forces also matters, not just absolute size, right? So if Ukraine has 700,000 troops, but they are not on the war stance, right? Because nobody believed Russia was about to invade, except America, and they are spread out throughout the country. They're in the Donbass. They're just everywhere. Russia had the concentration of forces that they needed to go towards Kiev, and they had that 30-mile column of equipment and all. Like, they got in, they did it. They got like 90% of the way there. So they had the element of surprise. They had the concentration of forces. I don't think it's fair to say that it didn't count, because they didn't have enough people.
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm trying to say is, whether you're trying to overthrow the government or whatever you're trying to do, that's not necessarily going like, it's war, but it's not war like what we're about to see now. Like, we're about to see a big war. Like, Russia's about to bring a lot of equipment and firepower and men into Ukraine. This is good. What
he's trying to say was that Russia wasn't 100% in initially, and over the time they have had to increase their involvement more than they wanted to. Originally, they just went in with 10-15%.
Because the game changed.
60%.
I think also, I think if you look at Kiev and some of the other places where they had the long advances, I think it was Wyatt that probably said it in the beginning, but those were all considered high risk, high reward operations that didn't work. I mean, if they could have got to Kiev and hit it and scared the government into surrendering, that would have worked perfect for them. And I think they were trying to do it on the cheap because they thought Ukraine would buckle. They obviously didn't buckle, and they probably hit that forest line just north of Kiev, and that's where it all stopped. Because, I mean, we saw the videos for weeks on end of them handing out every kind of freaking weapon you could think of, like candy, to anybody that showed up in Kiev. So you had all those idiots out there, plus the trained military. And
they weren't idiots. That's
I mean,
citizen defense. That's totally legit. Just like
yeah,
the
that's what I'm
Japanese
saying. But I mean,
America in World War II, they said there's a rifle behind every blade of grass. I mean, that's real.
Yeah, I think they took that shot because they thought that was what was going to happen, and they could get it on the cheap. And now, like you said, the game changed, and Russia's adapted and changed to the game, and they have the advantage. They're going to always have more pieces to throw in the game. So it's just not going to end until Russia ends it, because I don't think the U.S. or NATO is going to let Ukraine negotiate. And Russia, I would believe at this point, they're probably like, you know, unless something bad happens where they start losing a lot of troops, like if they can, you know, clean up Bakhmut or whatever. I mean,
hold on. Let White speak.
I think they're just going to be like, you know, fuck your negotiations, you know, until they get in a better position.
Let White speak. Go ahead.
So